beautiful people! Today we're going to talk about how you can create emotional intimacy in your relationship, which will help you to feel closer, more connected, and happier with your partner. Hi, and welcome to the Lunar Practice. Here I teach you how to be authentic, free your emotions, and have amazing relationships. I'm Veronica, and today I invited my boyfriend Matt to talk about emotional intimacy in partnerships because I thought it would be interesting to have the perspective from both of us. So, what is emotional intimacy?
Yeah, so Wikipedia says emotional intimacy is a psychological event that happens when trust levels and communication between two people are such that it fosters the mutual sharing of one another's deepest selves. Deep intimacy requires a high level of transparency and openness. Conversation is a key point in every emotional intimate relationship. This involves a degree of vulnerability.
So, emotional intimacy is not very different than sexual intimacy. It means that people know you on a level that not every other person knows you, right? So, emotional intimacy means that you share things with each other that you would not share with everybody else. And this creates an amazing connection, amazing feeling of closeness, and the feeling that you're really a team with the other person and that you feel very safe together. Do you want to share about emotional intimacy from a male's perspective?
So, emotions from a male perspective. So, I think this is a topic which is probably not spoken so much about, well, from men, I guess. It's a bit more rare to see this kind of thing. So, I mean, it's a difficult subject, and then it depends really on yourself, how used you are really to talking about your emotions, I guess. You could definitely generalise that men are not as good as talking about their emotions, or potentially just not as in touch with their emotions as women generally. But it's so important. For me, I do feel my emotions, so I need to be able to share them with somebody. I can't hide the things I'm feeling, it just doesn't work for me. So I need to be able to speak to someone about my emotions that I'm in a relationship with. It really helps build, trust and vulnerability is really important. And if you can connect on an emotional level, it really helps you connect on other levels of relationship. So it's really a really key building block to building a relationship. But from a men's perspective, there's definitely a lot of taboo around it, around sharing that you feel certain ways, particularly if they are what you'd categorise as more negative feelings or negative emotions, and to share them with a woman, a partner, it's can be very difficult and a hard subject. So.
That is so true. Unfortunately, it is a big taboo to talk about these things, which is so ridiculous because we all are feeling it. And I can say from a woman's perspective, I think for women it is generally easier and more acceptable to share emotions. So that's really nice, but still I've never been met by a man like I've been met from Matt, because he really makes me feel like I can share everything with him, and I have every kind of like made minor little breakdowns every day, and I can tell him everything, and even if it's like small things, he really supports me, and that is so beautiful, and I feel so safe and loved and heard.
It's lovely to hear.
Yes, and for me with vulnerability from Matt, I think that for me there's nothing stronger than when a man can say to me, I'm afraid, or I'm sad, because he's so open about this and he shows me that he's human. And actually in this world it's much braver to say as a man that you are sad, because most men are just like, oh, yeah, okay, that's mean, like I don't want to be mean towards men. I think sorry. No, I don't want to be mean towards men. I think it's really difficult because they have been taught as boys, basically, that like men don't cry, right? That's what you are told. And so you never share this, but it is incredibly difficult has always been so difficult for me to interact with men that are not able to even say the tiniest little they don't share about their emotions at all, because it's like, how can I connect with you if you don't show me that you're human? And also, if you want to really develop as a person, you have to admit that you have these feelings, because at some point you just hit a wall and then you cannot go back and forwards, because emotions are what makes you like move through life. You know, whenever some like a big developmental step happens, you usually go through craziest emotions, and if you just block them, at some point you will not develop anymore. And I personally find that so unattractive in guys, because I just feel like, you know, yeah, then be brave and admit that you're feeling, and come on, cry for 2 hours. Yeah, really, like, yeah. Anyways, so yeah, in our relationship, we have amazing emotional intimacy, and it is so wonderful because we can literally tell each other everything, and we are so connected. And it's always cool because when we meet people, they're always like, my god, you're so chilled with each other.
That's true.
It's just great. We always say that we are best friends, and then on top of it is the romantic relationship. And I think, to me, that is the best relationship, because I really feel loved as a person, and then the second layer is being loved as a woman, which of course is also amazing. And he tells me every day how beautiful I am.
You're beautiful.
You're also beautiful.
That was fishing for compliments. It doesn't count.
So essentially, creating emotional intimacy is the thing that you can do for your relationship to really make it wonderful and amazing. And we created 3 tips for you that will help you to create this in your relationship. Essentially, it is only one thing we can tell you, and that is talk about your feelings. It is the most important thing, not only for emotional intimacy, but in general, to make a relationship amazing. Of course, we know that talking about your feelings, it's like telling someone that has never swam to jump in the lake and just do it. Because in our society, we don't get taught to talk about our feelings, so it can be really, really hard. That's why we broke it down in kind of like 3 steps, so that you can train this and slowly increase your level on emotional intimacy. So, you say intimacy, no? Well,
Intimacy.
I'm a German, it's not my mother tongue, so never mind. Okay, so the first thing, of course, is speaking, telling the other person about your feelings. It is very important to not limit this to the feelings in the relationship. It's also important to talk about your feelings that you are having in your everyday life. I mean, if you, for example, have stress in your work and you feel anxious, or you feel hurt, or you feel that something happened in your work life that makes you feel really bad, then you of course carry this home in your relationship. And so if your partner doesn't know what's going on, it's so important to tell them. The same, of course, goes for whatever happens with your partner. If they do something that does not make you feel good, you should always tell them. Even if it was just a small thing that hurt you. So if you react hysterical to very small things, then it usually means that you are not reacting to the situation, but to something that happened in your life before, a traumatic event. And then in these situations, when you're freaking out for no reason, you are getting reminded. So there's the saying of psychotherapists, which means if it's hysterical, it's historical. So you should never feel ashamed to tell your partner when something very small they did hurt you, because it means that it reminds me of something horrible that happened in your past. So it's totally okay. And I think in relationship, it's so important to always feel comfortable to share everything. The last part is that you always say I in the beginning of your sentence, so that you don't start with you make me feel like this, or because you did this I feel like this, but that you say I felt hurt because when you said XY, it reminded me of this. in that way, it's so much easier for your partner to really, really take care of you and to say, oh, I'm sorry for what happened, I didn't mean it like that. But if you accuse them of something, it can be that the other person just gets defensive, because of course most of the time we don't intentionally want to hurt the other person. It's not our mission to hurt them, it just happens. So yeah, that was the speaking.
So the next big point is the opposite, listening. So listening is really important for many reasons, and really one of the most important things with listening is really listening. So when your partner is sharing something with you, particularly about how they're feeling, it's this ability to really listen to what they're saying, not kind of daydream in about something else, but really being there with the person, because they'll feel if you're actually listening or if you're somewhere else. And that's really important, because if you're really feeling like you're being listened to, then you're much more open, the other person will be, and they'll be much more willing to share, and it's much easier to have these conversations. Another big point of listening is, if you are being told something by a partner, really appreciate them for this, as in say thank you for sharing this stuff with you, because it takes a lot. So really give people recognition for sharing. It's a really, really important part. So in your journey, that this kind of conversations will keep going forward if you feel in this way. And the last big thing really with listening is, don't be judgmental with your partner if they're telling you something about how they're feeling. Even if you can't understand them exactly what they're saying, if you can't necessarily relate straight away, or you maybe don't agree, don't be judgmental. Really let the person say what they need to say, and be open to their emotions and their feelings, because it's what they're feeling, and don't pass on your judgment to them.
Exactly. And the third point would be that you really schedule time to have these talks in your relationship. Because life is stressful, we all have a really busy schedule, and you cannot have these deep talks when you know in half an hour you need to go to work, or in half an hour you need to drive your kids to school. You really should have at least 1 hour to really create a space where you can slowly open up to each other. And the best would be afterwards to have some intimate contact, to cuddle a bit, to hug each other, and to really make it a good, valuable experience that brings you closer together.
Quick recap. First, tell your partner how you feel. Talk about how you feel in all aspects of your life, especially tell your partner when they've hurt you, and always start your sentences with I feel. Second, listen to your partner empathically. Really focus your attention, appreciate the openness and vulnerability of your partner. Don't judge, but try to understand them. Third, make time for deep talks. Organize time in your schedule where both of you have enough time to really get into emotional topics. Have these talks in a private space where you can be vulnerable and have some close physical contact.
So these were our 3 tips. And the last thing we wanted to share was that, in my experience as a woman and in this heterosexual relationship, for me, creating deep emotional intimacy also is so good for sexual intimacy. Because for me as a woman, it makes me feel so safe knowing that Matt cares so much about my emotional well-being, and that we are so connected, and it is so beneficial for also the sexual intimacy in our relationship.
Cool.
Yes. Okay.
Just gotta put your heart out there, guys. It's alright. You'll be safe, probably.
Alright, we really hope you enjoyed this video. This was the Lunar Practice, Veronica and Matt. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with all the people that you think could benefit from this video, because it's such an important topic. So have a lovely day.
Alright, bye.